Good afternoon. I'm Erik Baptist, Senior Counsel with Alliance Defending Freedom, and I serve as co-counsel on the case FDA versus Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the federal agency responsible for ensuring the safety of drugs that Americans take, has betrayed women and girls. Women should have the ongoing care of a doctor when taking high-risk drugs. But in recent years, the FDA has recklessly removed nearly every safeguard the agency previously considered necessary for abortion drugs, including in-person doctor visits to check for ectopic pregnancies, severe bleeding, and life-threatening infections. Without question, the FDA's actions made taking high-risk abortion drugs less safe for women. What's especially appalling is the FDA's rationale for removing the initial in-person office visit, thereby allowing abortion providers to mail these drugs without ever having to check women for life-threatening conditions or complications. The initial in-office visit was crucial because it provided a woman with her only opportunity to be checked for an ectopic pregnancy and to determine the gestational age of her baby before taking these drugs. The FDA took that away from women based on studies that the agency conceded were not adequate to show the safety of this new mail-order abortion scheme. On behalf of doctors, medical associations, and their members, Alliance Defending Freedom sued the FDA to hold it accountable for violating federal law and endangering the health and safety of women. Our doctor clients are witnessing firsthand the harms inflicted by the FDA's reckless actions. To understand the high-risk nature of these drugs, one need look no further than the FDA's own label for these drugs, which shows that roughly 1 in 25 women will end up in the emergency room after taking these drugs. This fact also reveals the absurdity of the FDA's claim that these drugs are just as safe as Advil. Advil doesn't send 1 in 25 women to the emergency room. And yet, those who profit from the sale of abortion drugs continue to peddle this false, dangerous narrative, ignoring how this lie harms women. The FDA must be held accountable for violating its duty to protect women's health. That is why ADF is asking the Supreme Court to find that the FDA acted unlawfully by removing its original safety standards, affirming what 3 federal courts have already held. As a devoted father of 3 young girls, the husband of an amazing wife, and the son of a devoted mother, I know without a doubt that women's health matters. We hope that the Supreme Court will agree and hold the FDA accountable for violating the law to the detriment of women's health. Thank you.
I'd like to now invite to the podium Dr. Christina Francis, who is a board-certified OBGYN, has served thousands and thousands of women. She has such a compassionate heart. She spent 3 years in Kenya helping women there with OBGYN services, including delivery of children. Just an amazing woman. She's the president of the American Pro-Life Obstetrician and Gynecologist and a true expert in the field.
Good afternoon. As Congressman Smith said, my name is Dr. Christina Francis, and I'm a board-certified OBGYN who's practiced medicine for about 2 decades now. I'm also the CEO of the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs. We should all agree, regardless of one's views about abortion, that women deserve to have the ongoing care of a doctor when they're taking high-risk drugs. The FDA's inexplicable decision to remove this ongoing and in-person care for the use of abortion drugs endangers the health and safety of women and girls. And I see this regularly in my practice, as do my colleagues. That is why doctors and our medical organizations sued the FDA to hold it accountable for its reckless actions. When the FDA first approved abortion drugs, it required doctors to provide ongoing care to women using these drugs, including an initial in-person doctor visit and 2 follow-up in-person visits to check for ectopic pregnancies, which are the leading cause of maternal mortality in the first trimester, severe bleeding, and life-threatening infections. But in 2016, the FDA made sweeping changes to its original safeguards, including eliminating 2 out of the 3 previously required physician visits. Then in 2021, the FDA removed the initial in-person office visit. the only opportunity to check a woman for an ectopic pregnancy, and importantly, to give her the opportunity for individualized, informed consent, especially because an increase in the gestational age of her pregnancy directly correlates with an increase in the likelihood of a serious complication. This visit also allowed doctors to protect against coercion. But the FDA removed this critical visit even though it admitted the studies on which it relied to do so were, and I quote, not adequate to establish the drug's safety by mail. As an OBGYN, it is appalling to me that the FDA would leave women to perform their own chemical abortions at home, alone, without even one in-person visit with a doctor. What's even more shocking is that the FDA removed its safeguard despite its own label stating that roughly 1 in 25 women who take these drugs will end up in the emergency room. My colleagues and I are on the front lines, witnessing and treating the women harmed by the FDA's shameful actions. Women's health matters, and they deserve better. I hope the Supreme Court will hold the FDA accountable for its reckless disregard for women's health. Thank you.